Hello everyone, welcome back to Vickie's Country Home. Today's gonna be kind of what's on my mind. I guess that's a good way to put it. There's a lot on my mind. Russia, the Ukraine, prayers for those people. Friends that are sick, prayers for them. And grieving families and prayers for them. There's a lot of things on my mind, including work. But what I want to express tonight is so many people are afraid and they are panicking, they are acting out of fear, and that's never a good thing. I am seeing shortages and price hikes and all kinds of things. There are people that are just now starting to realize that we take a lot for granted, and the things you want on the shelf might not be there tomorrow. And if they are, they're probably going to be at least a bit higher, could be a lot higher. But there's also some of you that live the lifestyle of putting things away, and it's not because of this kind of crisis or that, it's because that's life. Hurricanes, earthquakes, fires, sickness, so many reasons that it's just good practice to put things away for the more difficult times. And then you have to decide, is it just for you? Is it for you and your family, or is there room for helping others? That has to be a personal decision, and it has to be thought out carefully because there's ramifications of all of those. So what I recommend, and I have my own plan, but what I recommend is if you are not already putting food and your medicines and your household supplies, if you're not putting things away that you use every day, now's a good time to start. I'm not saying go nuts and stock up unless you want to. What I am gonna say, I don't think prices are going to go down. I really don't. I think where we're at is probably the bottom. Where we will be, I have no idea. But what I think is that prices are going to continue to rise. They could be rising slowly, gradually, or they could just explode. And there's signs that that could happen. I hope it doesn't. As a bookkeeper, it would kill my clients. But I see things happening that give me some concern. So I do recommend to any of you that have not already put at least some food and household goods away for more difficult times, you might want to think about it. Again, make a plan, look at what you eat, look at what your family uses, and start there, because you need to stock what you will use, period. If you're able to do more, that's wonderful. And if you're able to help others, that's amazing. But start with you and your family, because that is, to me, the most important. And you can always go from there. Again, it's just, there's so many things in my mind right now. If things get difficult, am I going to have fuel? We live off grid. We have solar power and we have batteries. Well, those are great. And we will have to learn to ration more than we already do, because they do not supply fully all of our needs for our home and everything. And they don't help our vehicles. We still have to have fuel for our vehicles. We have to have firewood to heat the house. We have to have kerosene and diesel, propane. All of those things are part of our off-grid lifestyle. If you have any of those needs, you should definitely be looking at that, because those prices have gone up and they're continuing to go up. We normally don't fill our propane tank until maybe August, September. I'm gonna be looking at doing it earlier. Basically, as soon as the propane tank can come here without getting stuck in the mud on our road. That's how we have to do it, because many times they can't make it to our house and to the location where they would have to park without getting stuck with such a heavy truck, because we have such heavy mud. It's clay. So yes, I'm going to be looking at restocking that fuel. Diesel is always necessary because first of all, it runs one of our vehicles, but also that's what our generator runs on. We have to have diesel. And if the solar, whether it's just that we're using too much, but it also could be if you have too many overcast days, you're not making power. So the diesel generator is our backup power. So diesel is definitely a concern. Kerosene for heating. Propane that runs my range, it runs our hot water as a backup, it runs my dryer, and a propane fireplace that also helps with heat. But we also have propane needs with small tanks for my greenhouse and cooking and other things. So there's things like that that maybe you might need to consider too. Again, everybody's different. You stock for what you need and you will use. Don't take what I do and think that's what I gotta do, because it may have nothing to do with you. Animal feed. I can't free range my chickens. I wish I could. I really, really wish I could. We are wide open country. The high desert, there's very limited green and very limited food supplies. If I let my chickens free range, first of all, there's limited food supplies. There's bugs. They'll find bugs, especially certain times of the year. They love that. But there's also no cover for them. So if I let them free range, they are a sitting duck. Coyotes, owls, hawks, eagles. There's just many types of predators that would just love a chicken dinner. I prefer to keep them for us, mostly for eggs, but the occasional chicken also. So I have to supply their food, and we have them pretty well enclosed, and it's mostly to keep them from the predators. We have an A-frame chicken coop that also extends into an A-frame run that is fully enclosed with chicken wire and other reinforced fencing. And so far, I'm gonna say that it's probably been almost 10 years. We've had signs of predators trying to get in. They haven't been able to. We do have concrete stem wall under it, and we also have chicken wire that goes halfway up the outside part, the run, and chicken wire that goes out, and it's covered in rock, very sharp rock. And it's well weighted down. So if they try and dig in, which they have tried a number of times, they haven't succeeded. Could they? It's always possible. But for that reason, we have to take care of our chickens. We can't just let them forage for themselves, which means I have to have chicken feed and scratch is what I normally give them. Have to have, maybe reduced, but we have to feed them and provide what they need. So as a result, they're pretty well protected. But at the same time, mice and pack rats get in there, and they're not part of my plan. I have wonderful, wonderful outside cats. My Smudge is the mighty hunter. I love that little boy. He is just awesome, and he's very loving too. I prefer it to be not right after he succeeds in doing his job, but you know, that's part of it. And occasionally during the day I can leave the outside door to the chicken coop open that just goes into the man room where the feed is located. And Smudge gets right in there and goes after those mice, but they are pretty good at getting away from him. So one of my issues is I have to dispatch those critters that want to eat all my chicken feed, because I need to save that for my chickens, and they are the ones that produce food for us. I have tried the bucket. It works for a day, and then they figure it out and they won't go in it. But it did work great that first day. What I have found, and I'm going to call this the better mousetrap in my book, and I don't get anything for doing this. I'm just showing you what seems to work best for me. And these are, well, this brand is BCCY mousetrap. And I bought a box of 12 of them because they really work. And I bought them before. I just decided I wanted to get all new ones. I still have some of the first batch. But they're like the old-fashioned mouse traps as far as you set them and then they get triggered and clamp down. Well, these are a little bit different in that they're all plastic. The bait cup is from the bottom. And I basically just fill this little thing full of peanut butter and put it back in the bottom. Then when you open it, there's the bait, and they step on this little part that goes all the way around the bait, and it springs shut. Now, I'm going to be very careful doing this. Well, I'm going to leave it open for now. I set 3 of these out there about an hour ago. I had seen so many mice when I went out to feed the chickens, and it's like, I can't let this go on. So I put the 3 traps out there with that tiny bit of peanut butter, and I don't even have to get in here to get to it and refill it. I can do it totally from the bottom. And within an hour, I had 4 mice in 3 traps. I love these traps. So to me, this is the better mouse trap. Is it perfect? No. Will they get smart on this? Probably some of them. But it cuts down on what my little buddy Smudge has to take care of. So I'm going to trigger this safely so I don't get me or my cats nailed with it. There we go. So I'll put a link for these below. So far, these work better than anything I've tried. And again, I have to protect my chickens, but I also have to protect their food supply. I also have to take care of all of my other critters, my goats. I don't know about other parts of the country, but here, hay, because of the droughts and the fires and everything else, it's in short supply, and what you do find is so expensive. Right now, I'm paying almost $25 for a bale. I don't know what they're called, but it's, they're not huge, but a bale of hay is costing me about $25. And that's if you pick it up yourself. If you have a delivery fee, it could be another $100 on top of that. So I have to take care of my goats. I have to also give them pellets. It's usually the only way I can get those critters into their pen at night. I have to bribe them. So I have to do that. I have to buy their minerals and, on and on. So I have to think about their needs. The chickens, the goats, my outside cats, which they provide some of their own food, and I'm thankful for that. But we still have to take care of them. Inside cats who keep the rodents out of my home, that's another issue. So it's all of these things that we need to be thinking of. I am very fortunate because we have a well, and it's a good well. We have to have power to get the water out of the ground into the tank, and then that tank to get it into the whole house. Now, if I ever had to, we do have a manual pump that will go down deep enough for our well. I hope we never have to do it because it works really well and it's fairly easy to operate, but that's just another thing on the homestead to take care of. I will be starting some seeds for my garden, and soon I'll be planting potatoes and onions and other things that need to get in the ground early. And if you don't garden, if you're able to, it's something that really might be a good idea, partly because of food prices, partly because of the insecurity of our supply chain. So having a garden it's not perfect, especially here in the high desert, because getting enough water to those and keeping all of the critters that want to eat the green out is always a challenge. But it's something that is, I think, very important in today's age. Again, I'm not afraid. I won't be afraid. I do know that God has given us wisdom, and it's up to us to use it. And what does that wisdom mean for you? I can't answer that. I can only tell you what it means for us and how I can take care of my family. But I do know that things are changing. This isn't the country I grew up in. It isn't the world I grew up in. But that is not important. What is important is how do we get by with what we have, where we're at. And to always look to God, and He will provide for us, but you have to do your part too. Could He drop manna from heaven? Well, He's done it before. And yes, I'm sure He could, but He also put Joseph in a very terrible situation. He allowed that to happen in order to protect and provide for His people through Joseph in Egypt. So what's our part in this? I don't know. I really don't. All I know is God will give you wisdom and strength if you look to Him and ask Him and pray. And that to me is what we have to do right now. we need to be praying for our home. We need to pray for his church. We need to pray for this country, and we need to pray for all of those that are under attack right now. And that, I'm not even just saying Ukraine, because honestly, there's other places that I think are going to be under attack, but also the countries doing it. Many of their people don't want this, and they don't support it, but they have no choice. That's their home, and they are clumped in with it. So we need to have mercy for them. We need to pray for them, and just pray for Christ's church here on earth, because we are definitely part of that attack. So a lot of things on my mind, and there's always more. I could come up with a whole lot more, but I think I've gone on long enough. So what I'm gonna say is, be compassionate, be loving, pray. Pray like never before. Pray without ceasing. But use wisdom and not fear. Thank you for watching, and God bless you all. We'll talk soon.